Today I'm going to show you VSDC editor and just share with you what I've learned from using it. Before I go into all the details, I'm just going to go through the tabs at the top. At the top we have project, scenes, edit, view, editor, export project, tools, and activation. So activation is when you go to the Pro edition, which I did. It's not very expensive. I think it was like $20. All right, so I'm just going to quickly open a project. All right, so the reason I did this is because I want to show you the export project, and when you're done your project, you're going to want to save it or export it. So just before I begin sharing with you everything I've learned, I'll just go through export project. I will do that at the end as well. So notice we have some options: PC, web, iPhone, Android, DVD. What else do we have? We have a few other options: PS, Xbox, and mobile. So on PC, we have all these different types here: the output, select video, output video format, the different formats. And then finally, we have the conversion, video conversion, so exporting it. So if you click to web, you have the various output video formats for, say, YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, and then MP4. So MP4 seems to be the most popular, most commonly used or accepted format. So it's probably wiser to export your final project as an MP4. So that is found under web, not PC. So under web, so when you go to export your project, click web, and then the Q to export as an MP4. So I just want to bring that to your attention. It will save on your, well, it will save wherever you want it to. It will save somewhere on your computer, even though it's under the web media device. Okay. So the first thing is, when you open it up, this is what it looks like. Okay, so as you can see, we have various tabs at the top: project, scenes, edit, view, editor, export project, tools, and activation. We have our recent files here towards the right, in this window. At the bottom, we have all these features that when you click on them, they'll take you to the VSDC website. So if we click on one, it takes you to their website and then gives you a description of that topic with some videos, of course. All right, so let's go back to VSDC editor. So right now we don't have anything, so we need to either open a project or start a new project. So if we go to open a project, then we need to go to wherever we store our VSDC editor project. So I have a few here, and we can open one up this way. The other way is to create a new one. So why don't we do that? So we'll create a new project, and then we get this window that says project settings, and we need a title for a project. Usually I put the date and then the name, and we can include many other things: author, publisher, description, and so forth, but I usually just leave those blank. The date is actually provided here. Then I just click finish. All right, so now we get we have the following window divided up into different sections. This big one here at the top is where the actual video or our object is going to be displayed. At the very top, we have our menu. So depending on whatever tab we're on, we have an appropriate menu. On the left-hand side, we have the various objects that we're going to insert. And then in the middle, about 2/3 of the way down, we can move that around. Actually, we have some of the controls for the actual video, like play, Then we have some other fast forward and rewind buttons. We also have the time axis, which is going to come in handy when we're looking at our video and trying to edit it. But right now we don't have any video, so we need to do that. So let's go to our tab. So project, we've used this tab, we created a project. If you look at scenes, the scenes tab, everything's pretty much gray. It's a little bit of color, not much. Edit, same thing, it's all gray. View, mostly gray, nothing really going on there. Editor, however, again, gray, but it has this add object button. And this is where when we click it, we have these various options of different kinds of objects that we can add. The objects that I mostly used were text, audio, and video, and I think I used image too. But the moment we're going to add a video, that's the object we're going to start with. So I'm going to click on video. And now we have to go find a video. So I'm going to use this one, Mind Body Business, Jeff Sheehan. And now we get a new window, says Objects Position Settings. So this allows us to choose where we want the object to start at what time point. I think it defaults to from cursor position. So the cursor is this red vertical line that we see. We can change that, but 0 is a good place to start. There are other options where we can insert this object from the beginning of the scene or at the end of the scene from some manual position, or we can lock it to the start position or lock it to the end position. Now there's layers, so every object that is inserted is a layer. And if you notice in the bottom left-hand corner, we see layers. So as we add more objects, each one will either be in its own layer. So we can add an object in a new layer. We can insert a new layer between two layers, or we can insert the object into an existing layer. So usually I just add new objects into a new layer. So I just add a new layer. So let's do that and see what happens. Okay, so there we go. So there is our new layer. So if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, it says layer and it's highlighted, so it's gray. And then we have our video and we can see how long it is. So it starts at 0. We can move our cursor all the way to the end of the video. And our video is 1 hour. If we look at the bottom left-hand corner, we have the time, and that time represents the position of the cursor. So it's at the time point 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 40 seconds. So our video is approximately 1 hour and 3 minutes. All right, and wherever we move our cursor, the time is going to be shown in the bottom left-hand corner, so 23 minutes and 18 seconds, and that's where our video is displayed at that particular time point. Okay, so now if we go back up to our tabs, we have a little bit more color, especially in the Edit tab and the Editor tab, so that's the important one. So in the Editor tab, notice that our layer is highlighted, so it's gray. So our main sort of tools that we're looking at, we're going to use in the Editor tab are colored. If we click or unhighlight that layer, then the tools are all gray, so they're not functional. So let's click on the layers, and now our tools are colored again, so they're active. So let's look at let's look at this middle, I guess this middle band here, where we have the quality of the video, and then we have the play button. So this is the red button here is the play button. And then we have, this button that says play work area. So right here we have these little start and end boundaries. So this little area here that has been created by the start, this left-hand gray marker, and then the right-hand gray marker. This is our play area. So now if we highlight play area, I'm going to actually make it smaller so we can actually see it in action. It should just play that little area.
Of hosting this show and bringing on the most amazing, successful, experienced, and giving entrepreneurs you could ever.
Okay, so our play area is actually quite large. All right, so what I did here is here in the left, on the left hand side, we have these buttons. We have a plus, a minus, and then this other button here. So the plus, what it does is it zooms in on the time. So now the time axis has been stretched out. Oh, what happened there? Okay. So now that we can see it, it's like we've zoomed in with a magnifying glass. If we press on the negative sign, then we zoom out. And then the button to the right of the negative sign, if we click on that, then it fits the entire video into our window. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in so I can choose a very, very small, what do they call it, a play work area, a very small play work area, just to demonstrate the playing feature, the play feature. Okay. All right, there. Okay, so we're going to put our cursor at the beginning of the play area, and then we're going to hit play. Okay, that was very short. Let's make it a little bit, let's make the play area a little bit bigger. There, how's that? It's at least a second. Let's move our cursor within the play area, and let's hit play. Again, we've highlighted this little button that says play work area only, and click it, and let's see what happens.
And we're talking.
And notice it stopped. The video stopped just at the right marker of the play area. So that's kind of a nice feature. All right, so let's unhighlight that button. And then let's see, this next one is return cursor to beginning. All right, so let's zoom out. There. Okay, so now let's move the cursor right towards the end. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Yeah, and I'm going to click that button that says return cursor to beginning. Let's see what happens when we hit play. Let's zoom out again. All right, and let's hit play.
My name is Brian Kelly.
Oh, nothing happened. That's disappointing. I wonder why nothing happened. Let's check that again. Oh, it hasn't reached the end. I see. Okay. Oh, did it stop in the play area? Okay, so what normally would happen is once it's finished playing and reached the end of the video, it will go back to the start of the video. Let's see if we can try that again. Okay. All right. All right, so let's, the VSDC I find can be a bit slow at times. Okay, so let's try again. See if that works. It's playing, it's reached the end. And it's not going to the beginning. That's strange. Oh, it's just frozen there. So it hasn't, oh, did I stop it by mistake there? I see. Okay, so let's have a look at that again. So I put the cursor at the 1 hour, 3 minute and 23 second mark. That's where its starting position was. And then I hit play. And then when the cursor got to the end of the video, it went back to the 1 hour, 3 minute and 23 second mark. So it didn't go all the way to the beginning of the video, but it went to where I initially started playing from. Okay, so that's good to know. This next button, let's see what this one is. This one, I believe, just loops. Not sure what it. So loops playing. So let's have a look at that. So again, let's hit play. So that one goes all the way to the beginning.
So here's the big.
Okay, so this button here that says loop playing, if we scroll towards the end of our video and start playing, if that button's highlighted and you reach under your video, it goes right back to the beginning and starts playing again. That's good to know. So I try to keep all of those unhighlighted when I'm editing. All right. So next we have our volume controls. That's pretty straightforward. Minus sign is reducing the volume, plus sign is increasing the volume. Next we have all our rewind and fast forward buttons. The ones I've used a lot are moving back 1 second and moving forward 1 second. Then next we have, okay, so before we get into these ones, it's a bit more interesting to look at some of the tools, the snipping and I guess trimming tools. So let's look at those and then we'll have a look at these other items here in this middle bar. All right, so let's have a look. So let's see where our cursor is. Our cursor is at the 3 second mark. So let's change this. How about right here? It's at the 38-second mark. Let's have a look. So just about when Brian starts talking. So we stop the video there and we're at the 41-second mark and we have our cursor there. So now we're going to go up to the editor tab, click on that, and now we're going to look at a couple of these tools. So the main ones I used were the scissors and this little razor blade here. So on the scissors, we have a few different actions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on trim start. So remember, our cursor is at the 41-second point. I'm going to click trim start. And then notice all the video from time 0 to 41 seconds has disappeared. So it's been trimmed away. That's kind of interesting. All right, so next I'm going to zoom out again. And now I'm going to go to the end. Let's see. Let's have a look. Where should we go?
Word of wisdom from you, the man.
Okay, let's try that. Okay, let's play.
Gold. Love it. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate you, my friend. That is it for tonight. Another edition of the Mind Body Business Show. On behalf of this amazing man, Jeff Sheehan, I am Brian Kelly. We will see you again next week live right here. Until then, so long.
Well, thank you, Brian.
Everyone.
Thank you.
All right, so I hit stop right at the 1 hour, 2 minute and 53-second mark. So I want to trim off the end from that time point on towards the end. So I'm going to go back up to the scissors. So notice I've highlighted the layer, so the scissors are active. Then I'm going to click on it. Then I'm going to click trim end. And notice that the video from the 1 hour, 2 minute mark to the end, and our video was, I think, 1 hour, 3 minutes, has disappeared, has been trimmed. All right, so now we have our video and the beginning and the end have been trimmed. Okay, so now let's have a look at this cut out fragment. So let's see if we can figure out what that does. So we're going to take our beginning and end markers. Let's do that. Let's put our beginning marker at the 12 minute 32-second mark, and our end marker at the 32 minute and 28-second mark. So there's about 20 minutes in there between those markers. Now I'm going to go to the scissors and let's see if we click on cut out fragment, what happens. That entire 20 minutes of video has disappeared. So it's been cut out. So that's kind of interesting. That's a nice way to edit your video quickly by taking big chunks out. That's a good tool to have. Now let's have a look at the razor blade. Okay, so we have our cursor at the 12-minute and 35-second mark. So notice our video is significantly shorter now. Okay, and our layer is highlighted. So now we're going to click on the razor blade. See what happens. Doesn't look like anything happened. However, if we click off or unhighlight that layer and then click and then sort of grab either half of the video on either one half of the video on either side of the cursor, then we can actually move it. So now we have a second layer and part of the video, half of the video or half of the video that we split in half, that we split in two. Good. Let's try that again. So let's move the cursor. Again, we have to highlight the layer that we want to split. We're going to move our cursor. In this case, we moved it to the 29-minute mark. Our layer is highlighted. And we want to split. We're going to click the razor blade. Hopefully that worked. We're going to unhighlight the layer. Then we're going to grab one half of that split video. Oh, and of course it didn't work. So I'm going to go. So when mistakes happen, I usually go back to edit and undo. All right, so it looks like the razor blade was dull. So I'm going to go back to the editor. The cursor is at that 29-minute mark. I'm going to click the razor blade again. Hopefully got a sharper one. Okay, hopefully that worked. I'm going to unhighlight that first layer. Then I'm going to grab one part. And now we have a third layer. So now we have three pieces. So we took that original video, we trimmed off the start, we trimmed off the end, we cut out a 20-minute segment from in between, and then we took what was remaining and split it into three pieces. Okay, good. All right, so next, let's go back down to this middle bar and let's look at this item here. So set the work area size to fit the selected object. So we're in layer 1. Let's click on that button. And looks like our selected object. Let's try this. Okay, so I've selected the object in layer 1. I'm going to click on this button that says set the work area size to fit the selected object. And there you go, our work area. So our start and end boundaries have been set to the size of that clip of video in layer 1. Let's try that again. So let's click on the clip of video in layer 2, and then click that button that says set the work area size to fit the selected object. And there you go. We have our start and end, or left and right boundaries set to the size of that clip of video in layer 2. Okay, so now let's see what this next one is. So set begin work area by cursor position. Okay, so our cursor position is here at the 29-minute mark. We're going to click that button, set begin work area by cursor position. And that's where work area is. It's very small. Okay, let's do that. All right, let's try it again. Oh, okay, so it looks like we put our end, let's see, we put our final bar somewhere. And then, okay, good. All right, so let's put our cursor there. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's better. Okay, so if we move our cursor around, our work area changes. So we have we can set our left hand or our end boundary. And then we can move our cursor around to set the start. And the next button, set end work area by cursor position. So again, very similar. So let's change our cursor, click that button, and now the end or the left hand, or sorry, the right hand boundary aligns with the cursor. All right. So for example, there's our start position. Let's move our cursor to the 1 minute 50 second mark. Click on the set end work area by cursor position. And now work area is the first minute and 50 seconds. All right. What do we have? So move work area to cursor position. Let's have a look. Okay, interesting. So now we can set the size of the work area and move our cursor. Say our cursor is over here. And we click this button that says move work area to cursor position. And the entire interval of time moves to the cursor position, or starts at the cursor position rather. So we can try that again. Move our cursor there and just click. And the entire interval has moved to start at the cursor position. Similarly, for this button here, align work area by cursor position. Okay, so let's move cursor here and click that button. And now the end of that time interval is aligned with the cursor position. So again, these are useful tools for when you're editing the video and cutting out pieces of it. Let's look at these buttons. We'll move blocks to cursor position. So we have 3 blocks here. So let's highlight the first layer. So I guess the first block. All right, let's move our cursor to the 4 minute 44 second mark. And let's click that particular button, move blocks to cursor position. And if you notice that first block, or that block in the layer that we highlighted, move to start at the cursor position. So why don't we try moving the cursor here? Actually, why don't we move it to the beginning, the 0 second mark, and we're going to highlight all the layers. And then we're going to click that button again, move blocks to cursor position. And now all 3 blocks of video get moved so they start at time 0, so where the cursor is. So again, that can be very useful. All right, so next button, align blocks by cursor position. Okay, so let's move. Let's zoom out a little. Okay, so I'm going to move the cursor to the 17 minute and 54 second mark. All the layers are highlighted. I'm going to move, and I click this button, align blocks to cursor position. Now this is right justified, and all the blocks of video are lined up so that they end where the cursor is positioned. All right, so now let's have a look at this one. Set blocks order. Okay, so let's click that. What do we get? So it staggers the blocks. Okay, so I've unhighlighted all the layers. I'm going to highlight them in some particular order. So layer 1, 2, and then 3. I'm going to put the cursor at time 0, and I'm going to click that set blocks order and see if that makes a difference. No, of course not. I guess they're already ordered. All right. Okay. Let's change that. Where did that? Okay. Oh, highlight a few layers and see if I can. Well, of course not. It doesn't work when I want it to work. Well, that was interesting. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. All right, so let's highlight all the layers and see what happens. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so this button, so I had to highlight the layers in order, and then well, in the order that I wanted, so I highlighted them from top to bottom, and then I clicked on this button here that says set blocks order, and then it staggered them from top to bottom. So I do find that interesting that it doesn't line it up with the cursor. But perhaps in order to line it up with the cursor, I think the first thing we need to do is all our layers are highlighted, then we click this button, move blocks to cursor position. So now they're all aligned, their start positions are all aligned with the cursor position. Now we can click, the layers are still highlighted, we can click set blocks order, and now they're all staggered and they start at time 0. All right, so this next button beside it, the last one, set order with offset. So again, all our layers are highlighted. We're going to click that button, and now we get a window. So it tells us what the start time is, I guess duration of the entire frame, and then finally the offset between the objects, or between the clips of video. So let's put, I think we can put, let's put 5 minutes so it's noticeable. Let's click OK, and then now again the objects or the clips of video are staggered in order from layer 1 to layer 3 with a gap between each. So, and that gap is 5 minutes long. So that can be useful if you want to insert text or something in between clips of video. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is some of the properties of each video, or what you can do with objects rather. So if we go to this object here in the first layer and I right click, we have all these actions or that we can do with the video, or I guess things that we can do. In some cases, video effect can be interesting. If you have audio clip, you can do things with the audio. But this last one right at the bottom, properties, this is the one I've been using quite a bit, and in particular, volume, the audio. So whatever the volume is, it starts at 0, so you can increase it or decrease it. Speed is also something that I will change, and I can decrease, and that will help with clipping parts of the video or splitting it, especially when the guest or when someone is speaking really fast. If I slow down the speed, then it's easier to cut the video between sentences or between words. So that we can find, that's what so notice for this, in layer 1, that bit of video, when I clicked on properties, I changed the speed to half, so to 50% rather than 100, and it stretched out the video. So now it takes twice as long to play. So I'm going to return that back to 100, and now it shrinks it again. Okay. All right, so that's another tool. Okay.
So now that we have our three layers and our 3 clips of video, and we have them offset with about 5 minutes between each. I'll just move that over. So that's the other thing that's very nice. If you click on, I guess, an object, in this case a clip of video, you can actually move it around. You click on it and left click on it and hold your mouse, but your left button on your mouse, you can move, you can slide and move that bit of video, in this case, or whatever object it is that you've grabbed, you can move it around. So now I'm going to insert text. So you can either go to add object and click on text, add a bit of text. The first thing I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to place my cursor where I want to add the text. So why don't we place it here at the end of this clip of video? So let's do that. And again, we get this this window, object position settings. We can, so in this case, from the cursor position is where I want the object to start. So the text, I can, and then the layer, I can either add a new layer, insert a new layer, or insert into an existing layer. So again, I always just add a layer. And then duration is how long we want this object. So in this case, the text to last. I don't want it to last 34 minutes. I think well, longer than 45 seconds. Why don't we do 5 minutes? So the length of the gap. I hope that's right. We'll find out. Perhaps that is, yeah. There, let's give that a try. All right, so now we have this black screen. So now we can actually put some text, a text box in there, and we can write something. Mind body business show. And then we have all these ways to format the text. Color. I like changing the color, but you can choose any color. I usually use an orange. I usually change the font. You can pick any font. You can pick the size as well. Oh, what would be a nice size? It's a little bigger. We can change the size of our text box, and we can move it around, and then we can format it. We can, left align, center, right align, or justify the text within the box. All the usual things that you do with text. And now we see we have a new layer. It's called layer 4, and we have this green object that says text 1 in it, and it lasts for 5 minutes. And we can do that again, and if we want, and we can fill in this. Why don't we do that again and fill in this other gap? 5 minutes. Let's choose again, add layer, add a new layer. Let's change the time again to 5 minutes. Okay. So notice in this case, I put the cursor where there was still video happening. So our text is on the video. So I'll explain that in a moment. So I'll put some text of mine, body. The show again. Okay. All right. So again, we have a new layer. Now we have text 2, but so if you notice, the text 2 overlaps with layer 2. So that means at any point in time where they overlap, both layers are going to appear. So both the video and that particular bit of text on the Mind Body Business Show. So if we want to change that, what I normally do is I try to position the cursor at the end of whatever segment. So in this case, the video in layer 2, and then I adjust the length or the duration of the text that was overlapping. There might be situations where you actually want text to overlap. So it looks like it's happening again at the end of text 2. So I'm going to shorten it from the right-hand side. Okay. And again, maybe you want to add text on top of video. You can try that. Again, add new layer. And why don't we put something down here? Maybe change the color so we can see it a bit better. Oh. And the size. There. Okay. So now we've added some text just on the video itself in a different position. We can move it around and we can format it however we like. And again, if you look at the layers, we have a new layer, layer 6, and it overlaps with layer 3. Again, all these little windows you can resize, which is nice. Okay, so here, okay, so we've added text, the object text. The other object that I added was audio. So let's see if we do that. So again, we go to editor, add object, and I choose audio. Now let's go find some music. I have a bit of background music I downloaded. I don't know, I'll just choose anything. Not sure what Three Cocktails is. And again, this object position settings window pops up. Again, where do we want to add the music from, or where do we want to start? So in this case, I usually choose scene beginning. So from right from the beginning, and then I usually put a new layer. The duration of our audio clip is given, so it's 3 minutes and 14 seconds. So most of these little Sizzler videos or cliffhanger videos have been just over a minute, so we don't need a lot of audio. So let's put it in. And there's our audio, very short in comparison to what we have. But if you notice, we can see it and it overlaps with part of layer 1, so the beginning of the video. So if we play, let's see what happens.
My pearls of wisdom, or whatever you want to call them, okay?
Oh.
And I see one thing I'd like to clarify, though. You're marketing and sales expert.
So you can hear the audio in the background.
And I continue to learn.
So this is where clicking on the particular layers on this or objects, in this case the audio, I'm going to properties, and then adjusting the volume becomes important or becomes valuable. So let's turn down the volume a little bit. Let's see if that makes a difference.
Something new every day. So I talk about this all the time.
So that's better. So now the audio is not going over the speaker's voice as much. So we can adjust that even more. We can click on the layer of the video where the speaker is actually speaking, and again, right click and click on properties and then adjust the volume. So it looks like the volume is very low, which we don't want. So why don't we increase it? I don't know what's happening there. Okay, good. We'll just bring it back to 0 and see if that makes a difference. Give it a try.
People in the audience to hold on to the wallets or the pocketbooks.
Not bad, but so that gives you an idea of how the volume can be adjusted. So if you go back to layer 7 where the audio is, and we right click, if we go to audio effects, one effect that I use, or some effects that I use, are amplitude and in particular fade in and fade out. So fade in is the audio starts out very quiet and eventually increases in volume. Fade out is the opposite. So why don't we try fade in, see what we're at. So again, we get this window again, objects position setting. Again, from scene beginning, I usually start from the beginning. We add a new layer, and then under duration, that's how long the fade in is. So it looks like it's 10 seconds. So why don't we can change that to 5 seconds maybe. And then we have a new little object here, and that's the fade in object. So let's look at all our layers. Okay, so now if we actually start the audio,
whatever you want to call them, okay?
Oh.
And I see one thing
it'll take about 5 minutes to reach its maximum volume. So this clip of audio is maybe not the best to demonstrate that, but that's another sort of feature or action that you can do with your audio. There are many others. So let's have a look at text. So text, this is another place where we can do some additional features. So I'm going to layer 4, and I'm going to right click. And what I did was I go into video effects and transparency. So under transparency, I have fade in and fade out. So I use those quite a bit. So fade in, for example, is again, you have this familiar window, and let's choose from
let's have a look. I think let's try scene beginning, new layer. And again, we have duration. So it looks like it's 1 second, 1.5 seconds. Let's give that a try and see what happens. Here's our little layer. And let's see if we can view it. All right, so let's just start. See if we can demonstrate this if we can. Now let's look at the time. We're at 17 minutes, 9 seconds. If you notice, the word sort of faded in slowly. It's a little bit hard to see. Let's try it again, maybe increase the duration a little bit. There. And properties, my mistake there. Video effects, transparency, fade in. Let's increase the duration. Maybe 5 seconds. See if we can actually see that now. All right. Okay. So notice we have 2 fade-ins. We don't want that. So we want to delete layer 9. So we highlight it, we right click, and then we just go to delete. So that removes that previous fade-in that we did. Now let's see if we can actually notice this fade-in. All right, let's click play. There, that's a bit more noticeable. So notice that it took a few sentences for the word mind, body, business show to come, to show up in its full intensity. Good. And then similarly, you can, by right click, go back to video effects and transparency. We can do the same towards the end of the 5 minutes or the duration of that text. We go to fade out. And again, to scene end. And we have all these other, again, insert new layer. Now we can choose the duration, again, 5 seconds. So let's click OK, go back to it, and let's move our cursor. And let's see if we can actually see the fade out. Okay, so we don't want to sit there for 3 minutes. So let's try there. Okay, let's see if that works. If we look at the words, they're slowly fading out and disappearing. So that's a nice feature as well. So one thing that I've noticed and that I use a lot is again, go to the left, is zooming in and zooming out. Zooming in and zooming out at a time. So when I zoomed in, notice that the text and the video, they don't begin and end at the same time point. So I like to get them as close as possible. So now I can stretch out the text to kind of match or get as close as possible to where the video begins. So it's a bit more seamless. Okay. So I think those are pretty much all the features I used. The last one, of course, is export project. So if we go to the top and the tab export project, we click on that. Now we want to save our project. So if we click on PC, it gives us a number of formats. You can choose one of those. The more common format is MP4, and that's found under web. If you click on web, now you have various formats for various social media platforms, but the one that provides MP4 is this queue here. So click that, and then where it says output file, you can change the name or use the name of the project that you gave initially. And then once you're happy with everything, you just click, you go back to the top, and you click export project, and then you wait. Okay, so I want to show you like a completed edited video, or one that I completed. So this is the video of Jeff Sheehan. So I completed all the editing. So I have, so what we can do is we can look at all the layers. So I have all these layers, little clips, and in between each layer,
in between each little video clip, I have some text. And then over top of it, or underneath, or behind it, I guess in the background, I have the audio. So that's layer 50. So that's what the finished, I guess that's what a finished product that I've made looks like. So what we could do is we can actually watch the video. Let's have a look though. Let's first see if so one thing to do is so for example, we click on the so before I end, I wanted to show you a completed video edit that I've made. So this is the one of Jeff Sheehan. So put the cursor back at the beginning. So it's the one that we're looking at for Jeff Sheehan. So if you notice, I have all these layers. So they're not in order. So there's layers that I put in then deleted. But as you can see, there's a little pattern. There's a little blue video, clip of video, and then there's a layer that's green with text. Another blue clip that's video, and then another green layer of text, and it's sort of staggered all the way down. So one video clip, text, video, text. And then in the background we have, and the layer on the top is the audio. So that's the whatever tune I chose for the background. So we can play it. So we can either press the red button or play, or sometimes what I'll do is I'll click on the quality on this green where it says 180p, and then a little.
Welcome to the Mind Body Business Show.
A window opens up with the video itself.
The only Mr. Jeff Sheehan. Yoo-hoo!
I just wish also I knew a lot about entrepreneurship when I had been in the
So
corporate
as you
environment,
can
because of the fact
see,
that they're two different
the
animals.
music's in the background.
I think that's so
and
critically
The
important to
words
get out
or the text
and
fade out.
exercise and do whatever you can to keep that positive mind.
If you notice at the end, the tune kind of faded out. So that's a completed project. So now we're going to export it. I can show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're going to choose web because we want this MP4 format. So we're going to click that. And then we're going to go to the output files. We can either leave it as that name or we can change the name. So why don't we change it? Okay, so looks like I saved it once. Let's save it again and give it a title. Change one life at a time. Copy two. All right, so now we change the name. So now we just go to export project, this little rocket ship, click it. And if you notice in this file video conversion, the second bar and the first bar, you can see how much is being converted and how much is remaining. So it shouldn't take long. It looks like it takes 1 minute and 14 seconds. So once that's done, we'll have our video. Good, now the conversion is complete. Okay, and we can exit. I like to save the project before, or make sure it's saved. I click save, then I click exit, and we're done. All right, so now we can go to our documents and see our video. And we just converted, and there it is. Change one life at a time, Jeff Sheehan 2. The type is there, and then the size, we click on it.
Welcome to the Mind Body Business Show.
Our completed project.
The one, the only
Great.
Mr. Jeff Sheehan. Yoo-hoo!
I just
So
wish
that's the
also I
end of
knew
my-
a lot about
My video on VSDC and everything that I did. And I hope you got something out of it. Thank you.